This is an interesting drape I found and I discovered by looking at television that that looks familiar. And it was. It came from 1944 from a movie starring George Raft, who did a dancing number in front of this curtain. I call it my burlesque curtain because we've used it for burlesque shows. Now this was a grand surprise. I found it in a bag wrapped up in a basement. Had not been used for many years, from 1960 in fact. And I took it out and my word, it was beautiful. So it came out of a 1960 production of the Los Angeles Light Opera Company, very popular here during the 40s, 50s, 60s. And it had been used in a scene from Gypsy production then. So it's in fine shape and I love it. It's beautiful on stage. I call it my harem drape. If you're wondering how a contour curtain works, how it goes up so smoothly, it looks nice. There are wood blocks to make the folds. See how it goes up like that? A nice fold. So that's from the back workings, and here is what it looks like from the front. Some of these curtains are scenic drops, and this is especially interesting. I call it my Bali High curtain because it resembles from the South Pacific, the Bali High scene. We have another backdrop here. I call it the Times Square, and it's interesting because it's Times Square of 1954, what it looked like then. And it was in very bad shape, but I managed to repair it, and it looks pretty good from 1954. So many of these drapes are 50, 60 years old, so they needed restoration. Some were beyond that, but we did our best, and here's a sample. What you're looking at now came out of the Fox Westwood from 1950, and it was so badly damaged. Little rips on the top, and the dancing nymphs on the bottom you could not see. So I finally gave up. But an artist came along and said, I think I can do something with it. And he did. It took about 3 weeks and brought the thing back to life. And on the top we added some leaves to cover up the holes that had been there. So that's what can happen when you got an artist and a good-looking drapes. And one drop I use a lot of is my glitter drops. There's several pieces. Pieces of silver metal on a scrim, so whatever you put behind it takes on that color. So I want to really jazz up a scene. As you can see, it works very well. So I call it my glitter curtain. This is an especially interesting curtain. I found it in a shop lying around for a year and not been picked up because they could not afford to pick it up. They went out of business. So they said, do you want it? I said, sure. So I did some repairs and all, and it's a beautiful curtain. Where this came from, I have no idea. It was found all wadded up in a warehouse, and it looks like it must be from the 40s or 50s. It's gorgeous when it's lit, and it's a scrim, so whatever curtain you put behind it, it does that color. As you see these shots, the blue there, and the two people sitting in front of the red, that's Leonard Maltin interviewing Mrs. Buster Keaton. I call it the jewel. It's a real find. And what would a stage be without tassels? And I've collected a lot of them, various theaters everywhere. Be repaired and put back together, and they look very nice. Some of them are 2 feet high. So here's a sample or two of tassels. Not only are there curtains in my collection, but swags. Lots of swags I've collected. The one shown here is especially interesting. It's very big. That one drape is 16 feet high. It came out of the Shrine Auditorium. In those days of 1950s, they had shows going all the time. Part of it's missing, but I've got a good part of it. I use it a lot for Hitchcock movies. Back in the 20s, curtains were more elaborate. Today they'd be too expensive. A few have been saved, including this one here. It's from 1928, I believe. And I've restored it and put it up at the $1 Million Theater, where it looks fine and it has a happy home there forever.